So we have a lesson today, foil again. So I have a hit list. So the network's been reaching out to me and they've been asking for tips on some challenges that they've been having during their foil work. Let me get the hit list. The hit list is proper backcombing. So today we're going to hit on proper backcombing. Where to stand, how to backcomb, where you start backcombing. Also, a really good tip on how to prevent that orange from happening where that backcombing is. So we're going to talk about that. Thank you for that.
So these are all challenges that people have been telling you they're having, and you're going to
Yes.
show different solutions to all the challenges.
Yes, these are solutions to the challenges. I even prepped a mannequin and made some mistakes on it, which was really hard for me to do, so that we could go in and do it. So the one thing that I did prep is shadowing in the hair. A lot of the times we wear hair curled and you can't really see the issue, but I know as colorists, when we pull the hair down and we start to foil, you'll see shadows in the hair. I'm going to show you how to remove those shadows. And it may be like, how many times are you doing someone else's client? They come in, a brand new client, and they have little shadows and spots in their hair. So I'm going to show you a trick on how to get rid of that, which is a fun trick. Slipping foils. Again, any of our Hairbrain past classes, I had this really cool trick on notching that foil so they don't slide. So we're going to review that. And preventing breakage. A lot of the times we have to go through and pull up some maybe orange or color that hasn't gotten as light. And if you overlap powder lighteners, you will get breakage if the hair is compromised. Every time we use a powder lightener and put it on the hair, there's a little bit of the hair shaft, takes some of the structure out. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips on that. And last, low lights. Highlight, low light techniques. If color's been over lightened and you need to add dimension again, how many times do we have clients that come in level 25, back-to-back foils, and they tell you, I need a highlight. So these are thank you for these. If you guys want to see anything on Hairbrain, reach out and we'll do it. So.
All right, so we're going to jump right in. I just want to give some shout outs to some of your friends. I know Sherman Wong is here.
Hi, Sherman.
Haley's here.
Hi, Haley.
Mallory Branham. Hey, Lupe.
Hi.
So again, this is special. Yeah, we're back on with Lupe pretty much every 2 weeks doing live education. She got a hit list, she called it.
I got a hit list
of requests for things for her to teach. So she's deliberately kind of made some mistakes here to show you how to fix things or if there's any challenges. So I'm going to get in a little bit closer again.
Yes.
You know, Lupe loves to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and write them in here and I will do my best to share them with Lupe.
All right, first, let's do this. So you get someone new in your chair and you are looking at their hair, or it looks really great when you're done. And what happens is, let me show you what I mean by shadows. This is going to be our first hit list. So when you comb it down, you can see a shadow that's happening from here to here. Can you see that, G?
Now, is that,
From
let
here
me
to
take a guess,
here
is that because
to
of
here.
bad saturation or application?
It's actually could be from a couple of things. You can see right there from here to here. When we pick up and we foil, we focus at this root area. So I gave her this much of a new growth last night. So I gave her that much of a new growth. What happens is we focus so much on here and we're afraid to overlap and cause breakage. That, you can see that shadow through there in the middle of that section?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. So that can be from not pulling through on the mids and ends because a lot of people don't want to because they don't want to have breakage. And you can see
So
that
we
pull
get in
this
close, we
way.
try to get into the root and cover it up, and then we
Yeah.
just, as we pull down, we don't go all the way through to get
Right.
into the.
So you can see how
can see it,
uneven
yeah,
the saturation
right in
is.
through here, yeah.
Yeah. When their hair is curled, you can't see it. Like if I looked at that and she walked down the street, I'd be like, that's a pretty weave. That's a really nice dimension. It's us when we're working and we take that parting that we can start seeing it, and you can see it there. So let's do this. So I gave her about 1.5 inches of a new growth. So we're going to show you a way of getting rid of this. So I'm going to take my parting and I am going to focus on this. I'll always, now I'm going to talk about what my eyes are looking at, what my hands are doing, and where I'm standing. So I'm standing flat parallel to her. I'm focusing right here. See that low? Here's a low. Here's a low. I'm going to pull these low lights out. These are her natural. I'm going to pull all this out. I'm not looking at that. What I'm looking at, if I move that out of the way, I want to have all these ones that are blonde. So if you sat there and did a reverse and you start pulling these out, what my eyes are focusing on, team, are these. These are the blonde ones that I'm focusing on. Now what I'm looking at is this. I can see that there's a shadow there. So this isn't what I'm focusing on. Now I'm going to take it again. So here's my parting. I'm going to use tension. My hand, my finger is resting on her head. When you have enough tension and you're taking a foil and you just really lightly, I don't foil up here, that causes that. One of the reasons that cause it. I foil right where the highlight was before, and you can see how I'm picking it up. Now, if you leave some of the blondes, it's okay. It's okay if you leave some of the blondes, but it's not okay if you keep picking up some of those dark pieces. So I'll slide my Pentel comb out, and now this is what I'm going to highlight. If you take 50% of that parting and put a highlight in, this is going to be bright enough. You can see what I'm leaving out. That's not a lot, but you can see right here where there's a line. So I'm going to clip this up because now her highlight has just become a little bit of a correction. So now I'm going to slide down and you can see where this shadow is in that line. If you're fixing someone's hair and you see a line, that's what I'm picking up right there.
So Cade says hello.
Hi,
Our good
Cade.
friend Cade, and Taylor Smits is here.
Hi, Taylor.
Hi, team. The rest of you, if you're just joining us, I'm Gerard Scarpesi, co-founder of Hairbrained, here with our regular education with Lupe Voss, co-founder of Color Space. Say hi, Lupe.
Hi.
Again, Lupe, about 2 years ago with Ray Travello, launched this brand, Color Space, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But today we're really focused on these lessons.
Yes.
Requests that Lupe got of
My
challenges
hit
that
list.
people, her hit list,
All
challenges that people are having. So this one is, there's like some shadowing.
There's some shadowing that's happening in the hair. So I'm going to address the new growth. Now what I'm going to do, and this is the Pentel that I like to use. I'll pick up this hair here. So I addressed the new growth already. Now I'm going to pick up this shadow. Okay, there. Now watch. I'll slide a foil in right where that is. This is one way of preventing breakage. So then I'll pick up and I'll put this down through the root, through that hair mid-lengths and ends where it needs it. Okay, so then that's when I'll leave it down, because this right here, team, is really about getting those shadows out. So it's not really about folding the foil. I really make sure that I don't fold too much because it takes so much time. What you want to focus on is taking the time on getting those shadows out. Look, that doesn't have a shadow. I can see one strand right there that's a little bit deep, so let's do this. So this is me picking up all the blonde pieces. Okay, over direct, slide that down, follow the head shape, pick up my product, touch up the new growth. So here we go. I'll drop that down, pull this at a 90, grabbing that. Now I can see a shadow. Can you see that, G? Right there.
Yep.
I'm going to pick that piece up because I want to get rid of all these shadows that are happening in the hair. Drop that down, slide in a foil. And you guys, this is super detailed work. So this is a way of getting rid of those shadows. So I'm going to keep working as we go up. So I'm going to address the new growth. Then I'm only going to fold up once. I'm not going to fold up a lot because I really want to spend the time not on folding a perfect foil. What I'm focusing on is the color correction. So I'll leave these open because I'll slide them down fast. So let's take our next
Couple questions, Lupe, coming in from Thelma and Arif, wondering what you're using, what volume, what product.
Let's talk about the product while I'm doing this.
What's
now,
in your
team,
bowl?
what's in my bowl? Okay, so you can see the shadow from here to here. Can you see that really well? Let me put my hand right there. Yep, you can see that shadow.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to get rid of. All right.
This is so common in foiling.
It really is. And it is because we focus so much on doing this and touching that up, and we don't really look at what's happening down there.
Right.
And it's not anything that's wrong. It just depends on what kind of foiler you are, and this is a great way of getting those shadows out. Okay, so we are using Color Space Lift Freehand Powder Lightener. Check it out, it's silver. It's the coolest powder lightener you ever used.
Gonna get a shot of the packaging
Oh,
here.
it's so beautiful. So we're mixing it with 20 volume. We have 5 active ingredients. So we have a lot of power in this. So if you are used to using 30 volume, you could do this with 20. I really like to use 20 on my lower levels, 5 and below. I love how much power we have. It's a very clean lift. And, okay, so here's, I touched up the new growth. Now I'm looking for my shadow. Here's a shadow. Here's a shadow. Here's a small shadow. I'm dropping that out. That's why I like this comb. This is our Color Space brush team. It is like the best brush ever.
Now, you guys made a whole collection of brushes, right?
Yes, and I have them up there on that shelf. We have one, this is the Pintel one. We have a narrow, which I'm going to be using in a minute. Okay, team, now I'm addressing the shadow here. This is a really great color correction technique. So foil on foil. So I've got my original foil. I slid in a foil to address the mid-lengths and ends. This will prevent breakage, you guys, because every single time, now this is my original foil, and then I can see the shadow that's there as well. Okay, so I have my original. I'm going to take this out, touch it up. Then whatever's left, I pick up again. Then I address that. So we have these brushes were created by an industrial engineer. He sat and he watched our hands, and they're really easy to flip around. You can see there's no rough corners. So as I'm flipping, watch, I'll apply my product with my brush flat, I flip it, and I work my product. I use the tips. So here we go. Now let's address here. We're picking up these shadows here, here, here. So our powder lightener, Lift Silver Powder Lightener, gives you, team, 9 levels of lift. 9.
9 levels?
9.
Wow.
Not fake levels. We're talking real levels. Okay, so here's my shadow. Now I'm going to address this. Now, team, I'm going to incorporate another step. If you are afraid of, if you see the ends are a little bit compromised, you can do something that's very clever. Here I have conditioner. We have Bond. Bond is a multi-use product, and what Bond does is it will actually protect the hair. So if you're afraid, like these ends, look at how bright these ends are. And I want to pull down just a tiny bit. If I was afraid of these ends being compromised, I could simply paint Bond on, paint your conditioner on, make sure it's really nice and thick, and let that be a barrier so you can pull down just a little bit more. Okay, so I'm adding another layer so that you guys you don't have to worry about anything breaking. If you have pieces that are up here, you can paint some of your conditioner.
So separating with foil, using Bond to protect any areas that seem fragile.
Yep.
This is very, very customized hair coloring.
Yes, this is where you really have the power of making sure that no one walks out with just a little bit of hair left on their head. This is going to help prevent breakage. All right, so now we're going to address, so we're addressing shadows. We're picking up highlights. You can see where there's a spot right there. You're assessing. Okay, so now let's pick up. So I'm focusing on the highlights here. I'm going to pick up whatever I want that I like to see. So I'm going to move that out of the way. This I know is going to be good. So your first highlight, you're going to take out what you know you're going to use. Your second highlight is here. Now what we're going to do is see where it's highlighted here, and then you have the shadow here. That's a really good one. So I'm going to pick up here. My eyes are looking at this, not here. My eyes are looking at this, where the previous highlights were. I never go down in here and just start remaking them when I'm doing color work. I pick out what I want. Now this is what I'm correcting. And we are going to do this again with a low light. So here we go. So I'm going to put this in one. We'll take our powder lightener. So it's 2 highlights, one that's going to address the new growth. And then here, we're going to pull up, see there's a shadow right here. Let's do this and this. So with Color Space, this is what I really love. Part of our ethos is we want to make sure that you're going to love the powder lightener, that there's even a package where you buy the refill. So it comes in this plastic deal, so it's good for our earth, right? We have one plastic, and then what we have is 4 refills for you. So you can refill that same container without having to get any more of those. And there's actually a savings. So we make sure that the salon isn't spending all their money on that packaging. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. So that's going to be, and you can see there's just a tiny bit of shadowing right here and here. So this will be our last foil on this.
Question from Carol Turner. Great question.
Hi, Carol.
How do you address this with your guest? How do you point out the shadows to the guest? And how would you charge for it?
Well, this would be a color correction. I'm very careful about how I suggest on charging. That would be up to you what you would charge for it. This is definitely a color correction. This here is you're balancing out their highlights. So this would be, you would have to ask, you know, how are you living with it? Are you liking it? Do you want me to fix it? So that would be the first conversation. So I'm going to slide this in. Okay, drop this down.
I guess the challenge is if you're the one who created it, you know, you've been foiling their hair for a while and, you know, you created it, then how do you address that? That's when it gets a little tricky, right?
I guess that would get a little tricky. Just say, you know,
because I see it all the time, you know, I don't think people are deliberately, but like you said, you're focused on the root and you don't want to damage the older hair. So they just pull it through a little bit and, you know, eventually they start to get shadows. So
I think that would be a really great thing if anybody's on right now watching. How would you guys address this? If this happened and I was doing someone's hair, I would say I see a couple of shadows in here that we could address. If I did it, I don't know if I would charge them as a color correction or not. Because then that would be something that I did. And maybe you just do every other foil for now.
Yeah.
And then eventually it'll be balanced out when you're done. So.
But if someone else did it.
If someone else did it.
It's their fault.
You have
Let me tell you, we need to fix this right away.
Actually, I would just tell them. Just let them be aware of what's in their hair. Okay. So this is one way of doing it. So what we did, our first few foils, let's go back. We took a weave, we pinned it out that the first weave is the one that you want to have as your main weave. Then clip that up away. Then look at what you have, assess what you have. Pick up, get rid of that band, and then you're good. So then slide that foil in back to back. Then what we did for anybody who has compromised hair, we added bond and then painted over that. And that will help prevent any breakage from the mid-lengths and ends. Now what we're going to do is address anybody who's been overfoiled. So think about your clients who come in and they say, I don't see any dimension. I need more highlights because I don't see dimension. They don't know how to communicate to you. If they want to see contrast, it's not more highlights they need. Think about that. If they're like really blonded out, like look at this. She's got dimension hardly any here. I actually prepared this other side to do this. So let's come this way. I overly highlighted this side so you could see how blonde that is right there. So I overly highlighted that so that we could do this technique. All right, so I need my powder lightener. I need 2 colors and maybe that conditioner that we're talking about because I'm going to show you a couple of really fun tips on blending out a low light. Never call a low light, never tell a blonde you're putting a low light in their hair, however. But first, let's
why do you say that? Just because they're... So, and then they'll say it's not blonde enough.
Well, they'll say it's dark or it's black. I had someone that happened, I did it the next day and they said, my hair is black. And it was a level 8. So this is what I say. And I will do mix 1 to 2 with 10 volume. So let's mix it. So this team is a really cool machine. This is our Unimix. The Unimix is what we use. It's part of our system that helps mix color. So this is amazing. I have to make sure, I don't think I have this plugged in. Hang on. Let me plug this in. I think I could plug it here. I'm sorry, I thought I had this plugged in and I don't. Here. All right. So what we have here, we have a temperature button and a mixing button. So I pre-mixed our colors. So we have our 6.3 from Zero Ammonia Free. This is our Zero Ammonia Free, and this is the number, and it looks really cool. See the boxes? They look like the elements table. So that is our little Pantone with our 6.3. So let's do this. This is a temperature button. The temperature button, when you hit this, it brings in, it brings the product to body temperature. So this plate here will bring this color to body temp.
Why is it so important for it to be at body temp?
If you put cold color on someone's hair, which I know we've all done, when they're like, oh, did you get that out of the refrigerator? Yeah. What happens is you start a thermal shock process. So bringing this to body temp, there's a couple of reasons why it's really good for us. One, it's the same temperature as our body. Two, color needs to be body temp before it starts processing. So you're actually starting the process right away. It can shave off some time. Put our magnet, this is the magnet. The minute we drop the magnet in, make sure you don't drop the magnet in as this is on, because it makes a mess. Ask me how I know. So here's
put it in before you hit the
Put it in. I'll actually mix. And gee, look at the contact. Okay, we're still mixing here. Here we are. Look at that. So you look at that texture. It gives you a really creamy texture. The beauty about our developers as well is that we have shea butter, which doesn't do anyone's hair harm. Who doesn't want moisture and repair, right? So it'll beep and then it'll turn off. So we have our temperature button and our mix button. This is the magnets that go in there. I had that on just for a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, Lupe, to all the students that are watching, sorry we're having some connection issues here. We're in a nice studio, but it doesn't seem like we're able to get a good connection. I keep switching back and forth to get the best that we can, so hopefully we'll be able to continue.
All right. So we are addressing issues. This next issue that my hit list was overly blended in. So you could see that looks completely different to that. So you can see how different it is. And one thing, I don't know if you guys ever watch Friends, but the one color that I'm seeing a lot of is having that, what's her name? Friends.
Rachel?
Rachel. Having the Rachel. The Rachel had her dimension was all the way through, and then just the tips were light enough. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create that. Here we go. Is that on yet?
No.
All right. Em, you want to pull that on? All right, so here we go. So we're going to take our parting, and then we're going to read again. So here we have our new growth. So we're going to address that. It's not that, the light. All right, so here we go. So let me drop her down a little bit. So I'm going to pull this tight. Thank you, Em. I'm reading what I picked up before. See how I'm picking up here? My eyes, team, are not looking at the root. My eyes are looking at the highlights that are there. So I'm going to pick up as much as possible that I had before. So let's do this. Pick up, pick up, pick up. Oh, let me do that again. Pick up, pick up. So I'm looking at what's highlighted before. Here. So I know this is going to go in a highlight. Okay, I'm looking at that. It's really nice and even. You see there's no shadows. So I'm going to take this, move it out of the way. That's my first foil. Now my second foil, what I want to do is I want to darken some of this. So I'm going to reweave and pick up the other blonde. I'm not going to pick up anything that is deeper. What I'm doing is I'm picking up more of the blondes. See that? And then I'm looking at what's there. That's pretty. What we're going to do here is we're going to deepen this. So let me put my foil in. And I will not apply to the new growth. I'm only going to apply to the pieces that need to go darker. So here we go.
So in the first panel, you addressed the issue of shadowing.
Yep.
Now you're addressing the issue of not enough dimension.
Not enough dimension. Now we're going to fix the dimension. Now, the one thing that you have to be really careful of when you're doing this low, when you're adding the shadow in, I'm going to slide down just a tad bit.
Remind us again of what's in this bowl.
This
What
is
did you just paint?
6.3. This is 6.3 from Zero Ammonia Free. It's absolutely beautiful. Let me wipe my brush.
So this is some of the color space ammonia free from the Zero line.
Yes, 6.3 is gold. So we're doing a 6 gold mixed 1 to 2 with 10 volume. So we're taking this from a permanent color and we're creating a semi. I'm so sorry, a demi. A demi. So here, we're gonna paint, I'm addressing, this is Bond. I wanna keep those ends blonder. I don't wanna take this all the way down or it'll look like spaghetti.
So you put Bond on the
I
ends.
put Bond on the ends, and then I'll just pull this down and roll it back and forth. So what Bond is gonna do is dilute that. So this is a beautiful space to pull that 6.3 down. You see there was a 1 inch. I pulled it down and roll that back and forth, and then I wipe my brush off and put that back in there. So this team is our low. Okay, so this is a low light. This is what I call the negative space from the highlight. Now I'm gonna address my highlights. So the lows, I don't fold up, because I just wanna slide those up at the shampoo bowl. Now, this is my highlight. Okay, so let's take this. This is gonna be my powder lightener. While I'm painting on, I wanna look to see if there's any shadows. There's a slight shadow right here. Can you see that, G? Right here.
Yep.
And right here.
Yep.
So I'm gonna pick those up and this one up. Look at that. Slide my foil in. Do you see how now I'm combining my techniques?
Multiple techniques going on
Yes,
here.
this is what I would consider a correction. So here, and this would be something, you know, to Carol's point, you know, like how do you bring this up? You know, you have a lot of different dimension in your hair. We could fix that today, and this is how much it's gonna cost. I don't know how I got that on there. All right, so we'll fold this one up. Okay.
Again, if people want to avoid the shadow, if you're, you know, Afif is asking what causes the shadow. Can you address that again? How do we
Yes.
avoid that even happening?
So this would be how I would have gotten a shadow. Ready?
So you're going to show us.
I'm going to show you how you get a shadow. Because I just showed you how to get rid of it. We're jumping ahead. Here we go.
Yeah, now if people know what to avoid, that could be
Yes.
very helpful.
Okay, so now this section doesn't have the shadow. So you would get a shadow when, now you can see all the dimension that's in the hair. So you can get a shadow, you might get a shadow if I'm not looking at any of this. What I'm paying attention to is here, because we're taught to figure out what are you going to do? Is it going to be 10 weaves in a foil? Is it 8 weaves in a foil? It doesn't have anything else to do with, watch, take that. G, would you mind holding that one with that hand? Because I want to
Sorry,
make
I
sure.
dropped some.
That's okay. I need class participation. Now I'm going to put this in a foil, but I'm only going to address this. Now watch. Oh yeah, you could drop that. Yep, you're okay. You could drop that. So here we go. Now it's because I'm only addressing the root. Watch this.
So this is what causes a shadow.
This is what causes the shadow. Who asked that? That was a beautiful question.
Afif.
Afif, thank you. So I just addressed the root. Now look, I'm going to foil her up. Now look at what I just did. I left all of that shadow.
So saying when you're trying to be protective of the hair, you're just doing the root, and then maybe you're a little too protective, you just kind of stop, and you're not getting into some of the previously colored hair.
If this is one of the main causes. You're changing the weave effect from what the mid-lengths and ends have.
Right.
How about that?
Got it.
You're changing your technique. So this could have been hair painting or tipping.
Right. And you're not picking up the same hair because it's impossible.
It's
but
impossible. But
at
you
least
can get
if you
as
have
much as
a
you possibly can.
right.
But the minute you start changing
And you've
your
got blonde
technique-
and brown and
Yes.
yeah.
So Carol, if this lady came in and you were doing her root from where her highlights were, And you wanted to prevent this from ever happening to any of your clients, you guys, and they're changing their weave effect. That's when you go back and you do this. So that would be another conversation, team. So now, do you see that? And there's even some here. So this would be where I would lift this up, watch. Paint, paint, get rid of that, get rid of that. Now I would slide a foil in here, drop this down, and now you have the opportunity to address those. Hang on, let me pick those up. Like this would be the perfect example of someone, if she came in and she said, I need to, you know, like I want to change the way my hair looks. It's not every foil that you're going to have to do this to, but if you address it when she comes in, team, look
I guess it depends on the haircut. If it's like one length and it's really on the surface,
Yep.
or if the layers are very long, maybe you just address it on the surface.
Yep. See, and now all of that dark just got taken care of. So from her weave, if you're changing her technique, you're going to have to do something. Team, this is the fastest way to do that. And even if you did every third foil like this and left it, as long as it's broken up, you're not going to see it. She won't see it when she's blow drying her hair, because I know some people will pull their hair up and start blow drying. You can see it when you're pulling it up and blow drying it. So that would be one way of preventing that from
Jackie
happening.
Langwood said she can be guilty of that, and now she knows how to avoid it.
Oh, Jackie, guess how I learned it? I did too.
Well, isn't that how we call them discoveries,
They're
not
discoveries.
mistakes?
I'll tell you, that's exactly how I figured it out, because when my clients were coming back, I was changing different techniques and I noticed them, I saw shadows in the hair. So that's how I knew how to figure it out. That's the only way I did it. And I used this technique a lot for color correction. So that would be one. So let's do another low, high, low. So some people call them butterfly foils. So I'm going to take my parting. Let me push this down. I want to get one that has a little bit more color on it. Hang on.
Butterfly foils.
Butterfly foil. So what it is in essence, and it's not every foil. You don't have to do every foil. I don't want you to think that you're going to be spinning all day. If you have, I would say, look at the picture. You know, whatever percentage of low light is in that hair, that's the percentage that will be in a foil. So you can see how blonde that is. So let's take, you guys, I'm looking at the line of my blonde. So I'm going back and I'm picking up as much as I possibly can. Here, here, here. Because she likes her weave effect. This, I'm going to clip up and out, because this is what I know is going to stay blonde. What I need to do is make an optical illusion. If you have lines in the hair, this technique works as well. So now I'm going to pick up and just randomly weave. I don't want it to be perfect. If you make it perfect, it'll look like spaghetti in the hair. I'm going to leave this so you have what it was, what you're going to fix, and touch up her new growth. Okay, so let's add our shadow to here. Okay, I'm not going to place the low. We're using 0 ammonia free. We've changed this from a permanent to a demi by mixing 1 to 2 with 10 volume on this one. All right, so pick up and apply.
Another question about how long that will last without filler.
This, oh gosh, this will last. With our 0 ammonia free, it's absolutely beautiful. This will last. You will not have fading on this. Okay, here. And what's really cool, if you want to take it out, we have the 0 clear. You put it on and it shifts it right out of the hair. It's a miracle.
Like as almost a color remover?
Yeah, like a color remover. Yeah, it shifts it. It's so beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to give you a tip. Here we go. This is from Jen Roski. I tell you, this girl, our education team is amazing. So she taught me this trick. So I'll put my foil in. Team, if your foils aren't getting tight enough, all you have to do is put your foil in, and I'm going to go slow. And follow the head shape when you dismount your foil out. That will get that foil. I don't know if you can see how it curved it to the head shape. Can you see that, G?
Yep.
Yep. It curves it right to the head shape.
So you're not lifting the corners.
You're not lifting the corners up. You're not pulling up and away. It keeps it close. Okay, so keeping that foil from slipping. I don't need to address that. If you want to, you can put bond and condition as you go. So sometimes I'll have bond available if I know some of the ends are compromised. Summer's coming, you know, like I live in California and some of these people have pools and their hair is like, whoo. So I'll put conditioner on their ends, sandwich the foil. Okay, I'm gonna lock this in so it doesn't move. So I'll foil, I'm gonna go slow. Foil, now I want you to pay attention to my left hand where my watch is. So I'm gonna put my hand in, now pay attention to the teeth. I'm gonna push this over to lock the foil before, so now that's a normal movement. Before I move, I'm gonna put the teeth here and roll that edge up. So that's gonna lock that foil in so it doesn't slide. Okay.
So this is, again, to get as close as you can and so that the foil doesn't move around.
Yes. So get close as you can and lock that foil in. So let's take another one. I'm just gonna focus on the high now. I'm not gonna focus on the low light. We already got that low light down. So let's focus on getting the foil in
As close as you can.
as close as we can. So I'm gonna pick up, I'm looking at where her old growth happened. Look at that, her old foils. I'm not looking at her new growth. I'm looking at the old highlights right there. Drop this down, pick up here. I'm lifting the hair way far away from where it goes, over directing it, slide the foil in. Now I'm gonna put pintail comb following the head shape.
So
Then
that
I'll
little,
push that.
little curve as
That
you pull away.
curve, yeah, see how it tightens
It's
it
all
right
the little
there?
details, right?
It
The
is.
difference between good and great is that little extra 10% of knowledge and ability and attention to detail.
And don't you think because we're a craft, we have to just keep practicing this stuff, G?
Absolutely, and it keeps evolving.
Okay, so now her ends are good, so I'm not going to put conditioner. So I'll put this foil, I'm not used to working so slow. Here we go. I'm going to put foil to foil, okay, pintail. I'll fold, here we go. Fold up once, I'm going to lock my foil. Here's this side, teeth, roll this up.
And this prevents slipping, so you get
Yes.
real close to the root and no slipping.
Yes.
I just want to let everyone know who's watching. You have so many of your students and fans that every 2 weeks we do these with Lupe. We've done them for a very long time. We had a little break for the first part of the year, but we're back on just about every 2 weeks here. Wednesdays, Thursdays, typically we'll be doing Facebook Live Education with Lupe, featuring her brand Color Space. She's the co-founder of this hair color line. And the good news is all this education is saved. If you're on Facebook, all you have to do is go to the Hairbrain page, click on the live tab, and we've had over 1,000 lives, and Lupe has literally done at least 100 of them, maybe even more. So you can scroll through, you can find all Lupe's lessons going back years and years and years, and these past couple of years focused on color space.
Yes, and that's why we took a break, because we have our Demi launching, so I've been busy with that. I'm excited
Wait,
about
you've got what?
What?
What's coming out?
Ready. We have our new Demi line. That's our new addition to the family. We have primary permanent hair color. We have zero ammonia free permanent hair color. And now we have 3D coming out, which is our third alkalizer. So
Will
it's
we get
really
a
cool.
sneak peek of that anytime
I
soon
hope
here on
so.
Hairbrains?
I have a feeling yes. I have a feeling yes. All right. So here I locked it. You guys, it's that simple. When you're doing your first fold over, put the teeth in here. And what my hand is doing is just pushing up against those teeth. Good. So that those are locked. Look at how tight they're locked in. All right. Okay. So we've got, we fixed some shadows. What else did we do? We did a high and low. We
Got close to the root
got
without
close
slipping.
To the root. We showed you how to dismount. I do want to show you one of the things that someone had asked me was tipping. So there is a rule to tipping.
At least 20%.
20%.
And-
Okay.
And if you're service people like us, be more generous.
See, yes. And if a hair cutter is going to cut off the tips, you have to go higher. All right. So most of the time, one of the reasons, one of the things that I really want to, I'm going to do a diagonal. All right, one of the challenges that I got was a heavy line was one, not enough blend was another. Let me see how I can stand so that you can get this. Let me stand on this side, G. How about this side? You stand on
You want
this
me on the
side.
left side?
Yeah,
Okay.
you stand on mine, which is weird, I know. So, if you want to prevent lines from your tipping, always go at a diagonal. Never make a horizontal line, because if I stood here and tipped and it came down horizontally, you would have a horizontal line. Unless you're
So
doing
your
a dip dive.
sections should always be diagonal.
Always be a diagonal. That's
Tipping.
one. That's
Okay.
one. That's one way of taking out a heavy line. So you could be the best tipper, doesn't matter, but if you're horizontally, just like if you were standing in front of it, G, and cutting it, that's where it would be.
Yeah, the heaviest thing
The
is
heaviest.
horizontal.
Now
yeah.
ready? If I over direct it and I do a tip, look at that. When it falls,
Just like hair cutting, you
just like
overdirect
hair
it,
cutting.
it makes
Look.
the end softer.
So
Yeah.
you've got more of a diagonal. So that's one way of taking out a line, a visual
So
line.
section diagonal, over direct.
Over direct. So section diagonal is one, over direct is two. And this is what the law of tipping is. I want you to hear this. Wherever you want the highlight to start, that's where you start backcombing. If you start down here, team, and you do this, that's not a lot of highlight. That's when you take them outside and you have the mirror and you're like, come on, let's go outside so you can see your highlights. That's not what you want to do. You want to make sure that it is enough. Okay, here we go. So I've got my diagonal. I'm pulling, over directing her diagonally, holding it in my hand. I want my highlight to start here. So I'm thinking about her ear. So I want it to be here. So I'll stick my pintail comb. Oh, let me back up. No, let me show you the tipping and then I'll come back. I'm trying to think of my lesson in my head. Okay, so I'm roughing this up right where I want the pintail to go. I'm roughing it up so I have something to backcomb. I'm not backcombing. I'm just, see how I'm like lightly lifting that up? I'm pushing this down. This is important, team. I'm moving 1 inch past where I want my highlights to be. 1 inch, and I'll show you why right now. I'm going to paint my product from here to here, and then this is another way of, this backcombing is going to erase a line. So I've got a diagonal, over directing, and backcombing. I've just now diluted this 3 ways. So there's, you've erased a line 3 ways. Diagonal, over direct, backcomb. Okay? Now the 4th way is, when I'm painting this, I'm going to feather up. But the problem with some people, because what happens is not some people, some technique would be, if you don't feather up, oh, let me do this. I'm going to take this back. What I want you to do until you get used to doing this is your foil. I want you to put what looks like a 1 inch lip. So that's going to be your ruler. So let's replace this foil. Okay, so that's my 1 inch ruler. See that?
So you know not to go past there.
I know now not to go past that. So I'm going to go from here down. And I'm going to make sure that my product is really saturated. So watch my hands, you guys. This is really important. My brush is flat as I apply my product. And then I'll flip it this way because look, you can see where there's not product. Look at under here as well. You can see where there's not product. So you want to make sure you flip it and then flip the brush and then roll it back and forth. Roll it back and forth. Push that product through the hair. And the one thing that I noticed, that hair is a 3D, it's like an absorbent fiber. It's a 3-dimensional fiber. So you need to make sure that you push this product through. And then what you can do is you blend up in that 1 inch section. It's okay if you hit the back combing, just don't really go into the back combing. It's that 1 inch section. Push it up.
Will any of that little stuff actually lift?
No, not really. Not really. And then take your other foil and you're done. So you have your tipping. If you go too high up when in your blend, you'll start getting orange. You'll start getting orange inside here. So you just really want to go in that 1 inch that was like about right there.
And is that what, because you're not going to get the same heat, the same
You're not going to
processing?
get the same saturation.
Saturation.
It's all about the saturation. If you're not evenly saturated, it'll be orange while the rest of it's blonde. So that is your tipping technique. And then, as we move forward, I'm going to come back around, G. Now, let me clip this down. So let's do a review while I'm painting.
I had a massive flashback. This cart that your mixer is on here, your Unimix. I used to have the same exact carts when I owned my salon for product carts. I just turned and saw it, and I was like, ugh.
We're like,
it's like
oh,
back
my
in the
God.
salon again.
Okay, so I am going to paint on a new growth application. I'm not going to be very... she wants to have a shadow root, but she, even great coverage. So we're going to apply. I'm going to make sure that I get this really nice and saturated, but she wants highlights on top of this. And a lot of times when people are putting highlights over color, they're not really getting a lot of lift, or it lifts to an orange, or it lifts to a red, but it doesn't really get that really pretty highlight. I love highlighting over hair color. This is something that I find is so pretty. Normally, I use a high lift tint, but that will be another lesson. Okay, so let's do this. So I've got my new growth application on. She's been processing, and she wants to have highlights through her hair. So I'm going to take my parting. I make sure there's enough product in through her hair. Hang on, let me do that. Let me take a clean parting. These are the rules when you do this, team. This is our last technique. Ready? You take your parting above the new growth. You never drag the pintail against the root. Ever, ever, ever. Against the scalp.
Well, that'll just pull the color and
It
get
pulls
messy,
the
right?
color, and then when you do this, you get color on everything.
Right.
Okay, so you take your parting. So then you'll hold the hair. Again, do your weave effect, however you want this to be. Okay, clip that down. I always clip my work down. Pick this up. This is your technique. So you're going to push that product off the back of the hair. One of the reasons why you don't get the lift is because all that product is on there. So what you want to do is push the product off the hair before you apply. The beauty of using zero ammonia free for your hair color is that it doesn't have ammonia. So you can add powder lighteners on top of it without creating any type of harmful gases that we're breathing in. Zero ammonia free is perfect. It's the perfect new growth application so that you could do this technique with powder lighteners or the high lifts.
And always the question is, how's the gray coverage? Is it the same
Beautiful.
as
Yes.
even without ammonia?
Yes, yes. So that's one of the reasons why I would use this category, zero ammonia free, is if you're doing highlights over your base color. So here we go. Pull this away from where it goes. I'm going to start halfway down the hair shaft. I'm dragging this hand down to the ground, and look I just scraped.
And push the color.
I pushed the color off. You can see that. Can you see that?
Yep.
So I'm scraping this down, follow the head shape to get a tight foil, and now with my pintail, I'm pushing that off, and I just run it into the rest of the hair. Check that out.
So you're getting the root covered.
Yes.
And then you're able to put a highlight coming right out of the root.
Check that out. Now, I just scraped that off, and now I can put this on. Some people say, well, why don't you just do the foils first and then this? If you want to have a really soft, graceful grow out and you don't want to see where the highlights come from the scalp, this is beautiful. If your client wants to see where the highlights come from the scalp, I would place her foils first and then in between the foils do this. For gray coverage, I prefer the root to set a little bit longer and then do that. So here, and if you can see, she's got her ends are already highlighted. This is where I would pick up my Bond and put this in. Bond is a multi-use product that we have. It has multidextrin in it. This is like, it moisturizes and protects, it hydrates, it has a shea butter base, and it smells yummy. So now that's my application for my on the scalp. So again, I'll walk through one more time and then we'll recap. So we've got that, and I won't fold that up. So I'll take right above the root.
So again, here we're talking about how to do a root shadow or get root coverage and then go right in and add a foil without kind of getting the color and the lightener kind of interacting with each other in a negative way.
In a negative way, yeah. Permanent hair color has ammonia, and you really want to be careful when you start mixing your powder lighteners with it. If it's a high lift, you're fine. Okay, so again, zero ammonia free is your category. Okay, so I'm going to pull this away. I'm going to scrape.
So that pushes the color off the back.
Yep, I'm scraping it down. Follow the head shape. Thank you, Jen Roski. Pushing this off the hair and adding it just right to the root. And this is what's cool. If you ever do this with a high lift tint, what's really cool is it actually tones the hair. You don't even have to do a gloss on them when you're finished. So that's why I really like using high lift tints doing this technique. Now, here I'm going to add this to the ends. I want to show you one last thing. After this is all done, so I'm going to fold this up just to get it. Sometimes I will fold. See my pintail, it's dirty. Watch what I do. I clean my pintail as I pull my pintail comb out. Smart. Okay, so I'm going to fold this up. This is one technique that I do to help prevent any lines. If they have those funky shadows in the hair, I'll apply, and just like doing a shadow, I'll just paint through there. Get my this comb, this is the YS Park. Which number is this one, G?
That's the 102.
102. I put my pintail comb in at a 45. Now watch the teeth. I want you to pay attention to the teeth. Look at how it scrapes it down. See that? I just created a really pretty shadow, so there's not any hard lines in the hair. So that's one way to blend in your foils. Good? Phew, that was a lot. Okay, we did how to get rid of the shadows in the hair. We also did how to prevent breakage. Incorporate your conditioner. We have Bond. Bond is amazing. Apply that to the ends, and you can real lightly paint your powder lighteners on top. You can also, even if you were doing a low, and I didn't show you this one, G, and I'll put this one in real quick. If you're doing a low light, here we go. Here's my low. And you like it here, paint, paint, paint. Take comb just like what I talked about. If you want to do a really soft blend out and use what's up here to tone, start pulling some of that down with Bond. You guys, this is Bond. So I'm making sure that this is really saturated, and then I'll pull my 6.3 down. Use your conditioner as a barrier. It'll dilute the delivery of that tone. So that would be one way of bringing your shadows down and softening that up and using it as a tone. So we have a highlight, low light, which some people call a butterfly foil, and that helps blend out using this technique so that it doesn't look like you don't want stripes at the end. And the beauty of zero ammonia free is that they don't turn green. That's amazing. All right, so
another great lesson, Lupe. Thank you so much, and I think such relevant stuff on how to kind of deal with challenges that people are having every day. Again, Color Space Hair, that's Lupe's brand. She's a co-founder of this color line, was very integral in developing all the products. Very excited to announce that their new Demi
3D
is going to be coming out very, very soon. And we're back on with education here basically every 2 weeks. And there's tons more. If you enjoy Lupe, be sure to visit our live section. Just go to Hairbrained on Facebook. Look for the little tab that says live. Click it. It'll open all the thousands of videos that we've done, and many of them feature Lupe. And those are available to you at any time.
Yes.
Lupe, I'll give you some final words.
Thank you very much. Work on your technique. Remember, it's a craft. Never stop learning, and just keep practicing this. Really pay attention when you're looking at, whenever I'm working, when anyone else is working. Look at their hands. Look at the tension, and look at how the foils are being placed. And you'll learn how, you'll start picking up how people lay their foils in.